Good evening. My dear brothers and sisters, as I have mentioned in the beginning of our celebration, tonight we begin what we call in our year, in our calendar, the calendar of the church, the liturgical calendar, as the Paschal Triduum. Now, of course, we know that when we say Paschal, it refers to the Paschal mystery of Christ. And when we say Paschal mystery, it refers to the passion, death, and resurrection of the Lord. That's why in this celebration, we are celebrating the passion, death, and resurrection of the Lord. And we say Triduum because, of course, we know tri means, of course, in Latin three. Duum dies, of course, means days. That's why it is 3 days of celebrating the passion, death, and resurrection of the Lord. And as I have also mentioned, if you notice, I said it's just one long celebration beginning tonight and it ends during the Easter Vigil on Saturday night. It is just one celebration. You might be saying, what do you mean, Father, by just one celebration? Because in fact, tonight we will be going home and we'll be back tomorrow. That's why if you notice in all these 3 celebrations, tonight at the end, well, it's not really called end, because towards the end of our celebration, notice that Father will not give the final blessing. And tomorrow when we gather again at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, notice that we shall not begin again with the sign of the cross. And at the end tomorrow, there will be no again signing of the cross until during the end of Easter Vigil when we finally give the grand blessing. It is just one whole celebration. In fact, my dear brothers and sisters, the Paschal Triduum is considered as the retreat of the whole universal church. That's why I remember when I was still very young and how I wish we still observe it today. Beginning Holy Thursday, everybody's quiet. It only becomes joyful on Easter Vigil on Saturday night. Why? Because the whole Catholic Church is on retreat. Unfortunately, nowadays, we don't experience that anymore. But anyway, my dear brothers and sisters, beginning tonight, let us always be conscious and aware that we are in the mode of course, our spiritual journey retreat for these 3 days until we reach Easter Vigil, that is Saturday night. Now, you might be saying, Father, why is it only one celebration? Because, my dear brothers and sisters, theologically, by doctrine, these 3 things, passion, death, and resurrection of the Lord, are inseparable. You can never separate them theologically. What do I mean by that? You can never talk about passion and death without talking about resurrection. Because passion and death are meaningless without the resurrection. Can you imagine if Jesus, yes, carried his cross to Calvary and died and did not rise? What's the point of the passion and death? And of course, on the other hand, the resurrection is impossible without the passion and the death. That's why the church said, theologically, you cannot separate them, the passion, death, from the resurrection, or the resurrection from passion and death. That's why it must be one whole celebration of the church. And of course, my dear brothers and sisters, as we have heard in our gospel tonight, taken from the Gospel of St. John, of course, on this night, if we look at historically, when we trace it, it was the night when Jesus was having supper with his disciples, knowing that the following day will already be his way to the cross, his death on the cross. And what did he do? While he was having supper with his disciples, he took a towel, tied it around his waist, and washed the disciples' feet. You might be asking, why of all the actions, things that Jesus could do for them, why washing of the feet? Why did not Jesus prepare the meal for them? Why washing of the feet? Why? Because during the time of Jesus, the dirtiest job that they had, washing the feet. You have heard, of course, many times of servants during that time. But of course, remember that even servants themselves have ranking. You remember a servant is really very high in rank? You remember? Joseph. Remember? Joseph, he was the boss in the house of Potiphar, remember? And later on, he will be like in the palace of the king of Pharaoh. But he was a servant because they had a ranking. The lowest rank of the servant or slave, the one assigned to wash the feet of the guests. In the houses during that time, somebody, a slave, always sits by the door of the master. Remember that during that time, there's no car yet. That's why when they travel, they just walk. Imagine days of walking, and then when you reach the house, all your feet are muddy and dust and everything. You will not be allowed to enter the house without washing your feet. Imagine you've been walking for how many days, and to stoop down? That's why the best hospitality or the first hospitality that you show your guests is to have a slave by the entrance of your door. So that when the guest comes, wash my feet. So that somebody washes the feet before he enters. No wonder on that night, of all the actions that Jesus would do for his disciples is to wash the feet of his disciples. Why? Because it is the dirtiest job. What's the point? Jesus is telling them, guys, I have done the dirtiest job for you. In short, there's nothing I would not do for you, because even the dirtiest job I have done. My dear brothers and sisters, do we really have to prove that? That Jesus would do even the dirtiest job for us? It's covered right now. But imagine what Jesus did for us. Everything. He would do even the dirtiest. And yet the challenge of the story is, what did Jesus say at the end? So that as I have done for you, you should also do. So nice to watch Jesus washing the feet. Wow, the master washing the feet. But wait a minute. As you enjoy watching Jesus washing the feet of his disciples, maybe say, wow, Jesus washing the feet. Wait a minute. It means you have to serve your brothers and sisters too. My dear brothers and sisters, even though we call each other always brothers and sisters, if we don't serve each other, we're not brothers and sisters. We are not disciples of the Lord. The measure of greatness in the kingdom of heaven, serve one another. As I have done for you, you should also do. That's why it is called Maundy Thursday, right? Holy Thursday is also called Maundy Thursday. Because the Maundy comes from the Latin word mandatum. Mandate. Order. Because on this day, Jesus gave the order. That's why it's Mandatum Thursday. That's why when you remember Maundy Thursday, don't just say, wow, we're entering the Paschal Triduum. It should make you like, wait a minute. This is Mandatum Thursday. Do I really obey the will of God? The command today, serve one another. And another beautiful event in the story, I just jumped to the washing of the feet, but before that, he was having supper. What did he do? He took the bread and said, this is my body. He took the chalice and said, this is my blood. Eat it. Drink it. Take it. Don't take this negatively. The truth of the matter, my dear brothers and sisters, what will happen tomorrow, Good Friday, when Jesus actually takes the cross, carries the cross, and walks to Calvary, and died on the cross, that's done deal. What do you mean? But what do you mean, Father, by done deal? On that supper, when Jesus already said, this is my body, this is my blood, which will be poured for you, on that night, he already surrendered his life. The following day, when he walks to Calvary, it's like saying, guys, this is just formality. I already did it last night. Did I not tell you this is my body? This is my blood? Eat it and drink it. And tomorrow, you will actually see it. That's why, my dear brothers and sisters, as we celebrate the Lord's Supper tonight and we come back tomorrow, let us be reminded, this is what we celebrated last night. Jesus last night said, this is my body. This is my blood. Indeed, his word is true. Look at him. He really carried the cross to Calvary and he really died and poured his blood for me. And yet, my dear brothers and sisters, let us never forget that as Jesus walks to Calvary, as he washes the feet of his disciples, there is a corresponding command, Mandatum Thursday. May we serve one another as Jesus had done the dirtiest job, even to die on the cross. May we also serve one another, even though in fact sometimes those we are serving are even mocking us. Imagine Jesus walking to Calvary, carrying the cross, and everybody saying, crucify him, crucify him. Did they even realize that they are shouting that for Jesus to die on the cross, but in fact his death on the cross will be for them? Let us serve one another if we are true disciples of the Lord. And if we are true disciples of the Lord, the only way we can show our love is by serving one another.